Welcome to Love Your Life After Divorce, the podcast where you'll learn everything you need to know to rebuild your life after divorce from the inside out. Let's dive in. Hello, friend. How are you? I hope everything is good. I want to share with you today something that happened a couple of years ago. It was a very uncomfortable experience. But before I get into that, the reason that this story recently came to mind is that I was coaching a client and it was like I had one of those little light bulb moments where I realized, oh, wow, like we as humans, we need two sides of the same coin. So on one side of the coin is safety and stability, predictability, calmness. We need that. But then on the flip side of the coin, we also need adventure. We need excitement. We need stimulation. We need life not to feel so boring sometimes, right? And I was thinking about how we need both things and how really it's important that we find a balance. And so I was thinking about that balance of safety and stability versus excitement and adventure. And at what stages in my life had I felt more extreme, one or the other? Because what may feel like excitement or adventure to me might feel completely terrifying to another person. So it's all subjective, right? And I was thinking about how during my marriage, there was a lot of safety and stability for me. And especially toward the end, the last several years of my marriage felt, pretty normal, pretty stable, but also pretty boring. And I think that's one of the things I was longing for was more of a sense of adventure or excitement or just something different and new and fun. And so, when I got a divorce, I felt a lot more free. I felt excited to explore life in ways that I didn't feel like I had been able to when I was married. And so, I really did embrace just the whole idea of opening up to all the possibilities. What did I want to do? What kinds of activities did I want to try? And I want to point out here that you may have had the opposite experience. Maybe your marriage was very tumultuous. Maybe it was very up and down. Maybe you felt very unstable in your marriage, not in a good way, not in an exciting, adventurous way, but maybe you didn't have enough safety and calmness and stability. And so maybe when you got your divorce, you were thinking, okay, now's the time for me to make my life feel more stable, for me to be more settled, for me to be in a, more of a routine in my life, or just whatever ways made you feel more safe and more secure. I've heard from a lot of women, maybe their ex didn't use money in the best way. And now that they're divorced, they don't have to worry about their ex spending money on crazy stuff that, they don't agree with as far as like gambling or alcohol or drugs. And so for some women, I think they need more stability after divorce. And I think other women need more excitement and adventure. And so I don't know how that resonates with you, but I just thought it was a very interesting concept that as humans, I think we need both. Maybe we need more of one than the other at different times in life. But for me, after my divorce, like I said, I was feeling free. I was feeling excited. No doubt there was also sadness and grief, which I've talked about a lot on this podcast. So I don't mean to imply that it was just all fun and excitement after my divorce, but that was an aspect of it for me that I knew I needed more of that in my life. And so when one of my very best friends asked me to go skydiving with her on her 50th birthday, I was like, yes, I've always wanted to do that. I'm the kind of person, I love roller coasters. I love doing anything active and adventurous, especially with a little bit of danger involved. Rock climbing, whitewater rafting, zip lining, those kinds of things I love to do. I love to ride. Like I said, any ride, I will ride it. Besides the teacups, I don't love the like spinning in small circles motion. That gets me dizzy. But besides that, anything that's fast, that's high, that goes upside down. I'm all about it. It's super fun. And so I had always wanted to skydive. And so when she asked me, it was a no-brainer. I was super excited to do it. I thought, of course, like I have no problem with that. That doesn't even make me nervous thinking about it. This is something I've been wanting to do for a while. And I knew that I would be nervous right before it started. But what happened, I did not anticipate. And let me preface this by saying I'm not normally a very anxious person. I've never had anxiety really in my life. And so we get to the place where we're going to skydive. We watch the little video, we get the instructions. I'm feeling 100% confident. I'm feeling like I've got this, no problem. I remember if you've ever done it before, if you've seen anybody else's, they take these videos of you. So they interview you right before you get on the plane. Then they interview you again right when you right when you come down. And I remember them interviewing me right before I got on the plane, and I was just like, "Yes, like, let's go. I'm excited." Like, I had no fear at all. So then I get in the plane, and it was this tiny, tiny little plane. The windows weren't even really all the way closed. It felt like it just had, like, plastic kind of hammered around. There was, like, all these little gaping holes, right, around the windows, and we were packed in there like sardines, sitting back to back on these long benches. And the plane felt so rickety. And as we started going up, I started just feeling extremely unsafe. And I basically had a panic attack. Like I expected to feel just a little nervous pit in my stomach, be a little concerned. But I felt like I wanted to jump out of my skin. Like, that's the only way I can describe it. I really felt like I have to get out of here. I cannot stay in this place. Like, I just panicked. I totally panicked. And I had never felt like that before in my life. And I never have since. It was only a couple years ago. But so we're going up, 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 and it's just loud and it's rickety and there are tons of people. And I start just gripping my instructor's hands. He's sitting behind me because we're tethered together. And I just like literally had a death grip on his hands. And my best friend was sitting next to me with her instructor. And he kind of tapped her and said, "Hey, your friend's not doing well." And so she looked over at me and she said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "No." And I just started crying. Like I just couldn't control it. My eyes were just, welling up with tears. And, before it got to that point, when I noticed I was feeling terrified, I was trying to talk myself, into reality. Like I remember saying to myself things like, "You watched the video, you know that there's like three backups of, getting the parachute pulled. The guy you're with, he's done this hundreds of times. He told you your friend has done this before. She was fine." Like I was trying to rationalize myself out of my fear, and it was not working. And if you've heard me say anything at all in this podcast, you probably have heard me talk a lot about thought work and how firmly I believe that our thoughts create our emotions and drive our actions and create our lives, really. And so I'm a huge believer in the fact that our thoughts are powerful. And when we recognize and realize and learn how to harness our own thoughts, we can change so much about our lives. However, there are some times, and this was one of them, where there was no thinking my way out of this. And I felt like my body had a mind of its own. And it actually does. Your body does have a mind of its own. And I don't want to get into all the nitty-gritty about somatic, practices, but I will say that your mind and your body are obviously super interconnected. They work together, but sometimes things happen that send you into that fight or flight when you are freaking out, when you are literally afraid for your life, where you feel like you're going to die or something horrible is going to happen. And when you're in that state of mind, you cannot rationalize yourself out of it. And, I was trying my best. I had been trained as a life coach. I had used these tools on myself so many times and it was not working. And I just felt like I was spiraling out of control. And like I said, my friend, looked at me and said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "No." And I was started to cry. And her instructor just started talking. He just started talking to me in a very calm way. And he just said, "You know what?" He said, "I've done this 576 times or whatever it was." And he said, "And I don't like heights." He said, "The other day, my sister asked me to get up on a ladder at her house and, clean out the gutters or change some light bulb. And he said, I couldn't do it. He was like, I started climbing up it and I just had to come down. He was like, I was terrified of, and I was like, what? And so it was like just listening to his story got me out of my own experience. And I was just focusing on what he was saying. And the fact that he was an instructor and like jumped out of planes all the time, and yet he was afraid to get on ladders. And he told me he didn't like roller coasters. He would not go near the edge of a cliff. And he was explaining to me that skydiving is so much safer than a lot of those things. And that it's completely normal to cry on the way up, that lots of people panic. So he normalized my experience for me. And he made me feel, because I'm not afraid of heights. I love roller coasters. And, I don't mind being on the edge of a cliff. I mean, I don't love it, but, anyway, so things that he was saying, I was like, I like doing those things. And so it just gave me more confidence in myself. I don't know, it kind of, like I said, I think the main thing was for me to get out of my own experience and listen to him and pay attention to what he was saying. I think that kind of snapped me out of that kind of spiral that I was in. And just also, like I said, for him to normalize the experience for me made me feel so much better. And so by the time it was time for us to jump out of the plane, I was much more calm. I felt a lot better. I knew for sure I wanted to jump out because you can change your mind. You don't have to. And I was thinking, I'd rather jump out than ride back down in this plane. And so, I jumped out. It was a very cool, amazing experience. I loved it, most of it. My instructor, I felt very safe with him. He knew what he was doing. And once we jumped out, then it was just so cool to be up in the air and look around and see everything for miles and just be so high up and falling, but not feel like you're falling. It was a really cool experience. I was super glad I did it. But, later when I was reflecting back on what happened, it reminded me of the way I felt during my divorce. I was absolutely terrified of the unknown and of what was going to come. And I was imagining the worst case scenario. And like I said earlier, I've never really struggled with anxiety before, but during my divorce, I just had a constant pit in my stomach. I felt just sick to my stomach all the time. I lost like 20 pounds, which I did not need to lose 20 pounds. And yeah, I just was not myself at all, and it just reminded me of like a lesser version, but like way spread out over time, right? Like I felt this low hum of anxiety and fear for probably a year during my divorce process. And this experience of being up in this plane before I jumped out to skydive, it reminded me of that feeling because I just felt frozen in fear. It was so overwhelming. I just wanted to feel safe again. I just wanted to be comfortable. And that's how I felt in that plane. It was like, get me out of here, get me to safety. And so, going through the divorce and being up in that plane, in those two instances, what I really was craving in that moment was safety and comfort and stability. I felt like I was out of control and I needed more calm. I needed more control. And, as I was going through my divorce, I think it just took time and like taking each small step helped me see that I could figure things out, that things would work out. I relied heavily on my friends, my family, my therapist, and after my divorce, my life coach. And I think with their support, just like that other instructor on the plane, came alongside me, gave me support, normalized my experience for me. I think that that's kind of what I also had during my divorce that helped me keep going. It helped me recover from that feeling of panic. And I just want to say that obviously all humans have survival instincts. We don't want to die, right? And so we sometimes get overly worried and we get overly anxious about things that we don't understand or things that are happening that we can't predict. When things feel unsafe, we get anxious, and that's normal. And so, learning how to find ways to give yourself that feeling of safety, of stability, support, certainty, those are so important when you're in that mode of just freaking out and panic. And so, if that's where you are right now, if you are in the middle of that, let me just say that I totally understand. I get where you are. It is not fun. That's the worst I've ever felt in my entire life during that year when I was going through my divorce. And I mean, I wondered if I would make it at certain points. And so, if that's you and if you need someone to talk to, please reach out. Seriously. I always include a link in the show notes of this podcast. And if you just want to vent, if you want to just spill it all and just tell somebody how you're feeling, how you're struggling, what's happening in your day to day, I am totally here for that. And then on the flip side, maybe you are recently divorced or you've been divorced for a while and you're ready for some adventure. You're ready for some excitement. You want to figure yourself out more. You want to try more things. You want to become more confident. You want to put yourself out there. And that's what my 3-month program is all about, is learning who you are, what you want, and then creating it for yourself. And so if that's where you are, I would also love to talk to you and help you figure out your next step. What do you want to do next? What do you want to try? Just like skydiving. Oh my goodness. I never expected to be that terrified, like I said. And it's so funny because I want to do it again because I want to prove to myself that I can go through with it without freaking out. Like, even though I know it's normal, even though I made it through, I don't know. It kind of overshadowed the excitement and the fun part of doing it. And it took me a little while to recover. Like, it took me a while to kind of come down off of that spike of whatever hormone that is, probably cortisol, the stress hormone, that makes you freak out. So I just encourage you to think about those two sides of that coin, the safety and stability that we all need, and then the excitement and adventure that we also all need. So where do you feel like you are right now? Do you feel like you're leaning more toward one end than the other as far as what's happening in your life? Like, which one do you need more of right now? Do you need more safety and stability, or do you need more excitement and adventure? If you need more safety and stability, I just want to offer that you can say no to people. You can set boundaries. You can do what's best for you. You can create safety and stability in your own life by managing yourself maybe in a little bit different way than you have. Give yourself some time alone at home just to be calm, to do what feels right to you, maybe to take a bath. Or maybe you need, some one-on-one time with a good friend who can really listen, who understands you. Or maybe you don't want to talk at all. Maybe you just want to watch a movie or go see a band. Other ways to create more stability for yourself are things like journaling or going to therapy or hiring a life coach. Getting more grounded in who you are will help you feel more stable no matter what is going on in your life. Because when you know that you have your own back and when you know that you can trust yourself to figure things out, it doesn't matter as much what's happening in your life because you know that no matter what happens, that you have what it takes to figure it out. You have what it takes to have the type of life you want. And so I think also developing that self trust is a big way to create safety and stability for yourself. Because as kind of sad as it sounds, the truth is you are your own best friend. You are the only person that's going to be with you forever. You are the person that has to live your own life. Nobody else can live it for you. And in a way that makes me sad and it makes me feel lonely because I'm the kind of person that loves just being in relationship with other people. I love connecting. I love feeling close to other people. I love carrying other people's burdens. I love helping other people and I love letting other people help me. And so in a way, it's sad for me to hear that. But at the same time, I think it strengthens my relationship with myself. And that's one of the main things I've learned after my divorce is just learning how to be truly on my own, learning what it looks like to live my life day in, day out when I'm really the only one that's responsible for me, right? Obviously, I rely on other people, friends, family, even my ex-husband. I definitely still have important relationships, but there's just something about recognizing that you alone know what's best for you and that you alone experience your own life in a way that no one else can, which sounds so obvious, but I don't know, it's just a different way of thinking about it that's really helped me develop that relationship with myself. And it really does just allow you to feel much more strong, much more capable, and much more stable than it is if you don't have that relationship with yourself. If you don't trust yourself to be able to figure stuff out, if you don't trust yourself to work hard, if you don't know that you can handle certain emotions, then you feel vulnerable. You feel at risk. You feel worried about what might happen next because, you don't know how you're going to handle it. But when you've learned how to handle any emotion that you have, when you know that feelings are fleeting, that they just come and they go, you're not going to be sad forever. You're not going to be angry forever. You're not going to be irritated forever. You're not going to be happy forever. All emotions come and go. But one thing that doesn't change is that you are always with yourself. You are always in your own mind. You're always experiencing your own body. And so it's up to you to create the life and the experiences that you want to be having for yourself. Like I said, whether that means you need more safety and security and stability, or whether you need a little more excitement and adventure in your life. What have you been wanting to try? Do you have something kind of on your bucket list that always has sounded really fun or exciting? Is there where you want to visit, go on a vacation? I heard an interview recently, and I cannot remember her name right now, but she talked about having a me moon. And when she first said the term, I'm like, what is she saying? But then she explained instead of a honeymoon, it's a me moon. And she's come up with this whole idea of taking yourself on a trip and having that be your me moon, which is the time that you spend with yourself, doing something that you really enjoy, treating yourself to a nice dinner, going to a museum or a show or a concert by yourself, and how empowering that is, how freeing it is, and just how much that builds your relationship with yourself. And I thought, what a cool idea. And like I said, I am a big time people person. I would much rather be with other people most of the time than be by myself. But knowing how to navigate traveling on your own, going places on your own, it really is empowering. It really is just a skill that can serve you throughout the rest of your life. And once you know that you can do things like that on your own, once you can give yourself certain experiences, then you no longer feel like you have to have another person in your life to give that to you. I think that the best and most healthy relationships really do come about when you feel grounded in who you are, when you don't feel like you have to have another human, another romantic relationship in order to survive or to enjoy your life. And so I just encourage you. I know it's such cliche wisdom. After divorce, everybody says, find yourself, be alone, spend time with yourself. But there's so much truth in that, which is why people say it. I know it's so tempting to want to just jump into another relationship or bury yourself in your job or, eat away all your troubles. Like we all have these different coping mechanisms, right? But I just want to encourage you to also include those types of activities that build your relationship with yourself. And I know I've talked about this before as well, but one of my favorite things to do, which is such a small, tiny thing, but it has made a big difference in my life, is to just pause sometimes throughout any given day, to just pause, place my hand on my chest, and just say, what do you need right now? Like just having the kind of relationship with myself where I show myself care, where I check in with myself, where I ask myself, what do you need right now? And then I do my best to give it to myself. And just that act alone, like I said, is so small, but I really encourage you to try it, especially if you notice that you feel dysregulated, that you feel anxious or irritated or angry, or you just don't quite feel like yourself, or you're not sure what's wrong. Just put your hand on your chest and just say, what is it? What do you need, dear? Just talk kindly to yourself. What do you need, honey? And I just, I really think that that will help develop that really healthy relationship with yourself. So I'd love to hear from you. what do you think you need right now? Do you think you need more stability and calmness and predictability in your life? Or do you feel like you need more adventure? And how are you going to give yourself each of those things? And honestly, like it can change, a few weeks go by and you might, or even on a daily basis, you might need one or the other more, more than the other one. And like I said, I really just think it's a balance, and that's a really nice thing to understand about your needs as a human, is that you really need both of those things. And knowing that about yourself and being able to tune in with yourself and ask yourself what you really need, and then being able to give yourself that, that is such a gift. It is such a great skill, like I said, that will serve you and allow you to move through life much more effectively. It will allow you to be more just authentic and get your needs met because you're making sure that you get your own needs met. You don't have to wait around and rely on someone else to do it for you. And that is such a good feeling. It's so empowering. So I want that for you. I really do. So, yeah, let me know what you think about this. I'd love to hear from you. Email me, or I think you can even leave a little text in this podcast. I think, yeah, try it out. I don't know. I'm saying that. I'm like, check it out. See if you can do that. That'd be fun. I'd love to get a text from you. So shoot me a text. And I hope you have a great week. And I hope that you are just finding those ways to rebuild your life, to heal after divorce, to become more of your authentic self, because there is only one you. There is truly only one you in the entire universe. Live your life authentically. Find more ways to bring joy into your life, because the more joyful and authentic you are, then that spills over to everyone else in your life. That affects your kids in a positive way. It affects your friends in a positive way. It affects your ex in a positive way. It makes the world a better place when you are more grounded, you are more authentic, and you are living your life in a way that brings you joy. It's best for everyone. So get to it, friends, and I will talk to you next week. If you're feeling lost, overwhelmed, or unsure of how to move forward after your divorce, I've created a free guide just for you. It's called the 5 Stages of Divorce Recovery, and it lays out the roadmap to help you heal, rebuild, and love your life after divorce. This guide is packed with insights and actionable steps that will take you from grieving to embracing your future with confidence. Click the link in this podcast description, and the free guide will be delivered straight to your inbox.